Okay. Okay, so I gotta take Jaime name out. I am actually prepared today. Okay. Welcome to the Sonny Chung podcast. Today I'm excited to welcome Dr. Huang, a highly educated investor, accomplished investor with a portfolio over 7,000 apartment units, value more than $600 million. Dr. Han is an optometrist who owns a successful multi-million dollar practice in the Dallas Fort Worth area. In addition, she also the Amazon bestseller author. Her famous book, known for Power of Female Immigrant and Persistent Pivot and Game Changer. Thank you very much, Dr. Hart, to be a guest on this show. Is there anything else you would like to share to the audience who listen to the podcast today?
No, I'm just excited, Sonny. Thank you so much for having me on your show. And I am excited. And no, I have nothing else to add, but we'll go through the show and whatever other questions that come up, you can just ask away. Ask free.
Go for it. Just go with thank you. I love your attitude. Honestly, it's a pleasure to meet someone like you. And in the real estate industry, it's so hard to find good people, and I'm glad you're one of them.
Wow.
Um, I There's a few questions, and I want to ask, and hopefully the audience can learn about you as well. And also, you have a coaching program, and we can go into that and see how they can get hold of you. So the first thing I would like to ask, what inspired you transition from optometrist to a real estate investment, and how you manage the balance of both careers?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's one I get asked all the time, Sonny. By
Uh,
trade, I'm an optometrist. I graduated in 2006, so been practicing for 18 years. Now, my daughter, Athena, she was born in 2014. And the
mm,
reality of it is being a business owner and having two private practices. My husband, Jaime, you know, we were hustling and working maybe 6 days a week. Sometimes we were doing, 60 hours a work week. When
mm,
our daughter was born, it was really hard as a mom not having the time freedom to be able to enjoy the balance of being a career woman, but also being a mom who is there involved in their child. And that's what piqued our interest in the real estate space. And that's when we started learning more about real estate investing. And Jaime and I started off buying, land. We built our own home to do Airbnb. And then we transitioned into larger multifamily, but it really stemmed from the need and wanting of more balance in life and enjoying the fruits of our labor. And from the time freedom, then also realizing the potential of what real estate can do. And we started really getting passionate about both the real estate investing world and being successful career people. And I was like, man, if only people knew the world of how you can multiply your money and how investing really works, then that would be great. And so we started educating and speaking more about it. And that's when we started doing more syndication type models and bringing other investors alongside us. But it stemmed from our own desire of wanting to have more financial and time freedom. And how do people do that? And, you hear real estate investing, and there's so many vehicles and lanes in real estate investing. And so we spent a lot of money and time into these mentorship and coaching programs and masterminds and conferences and networking and learning so that we could, maximize and work smarter, and not just always harder.
mm. So the crucial point about syndication and in your industry is to attract the investor to scale your real estate portfolio, right? So how did you initially build trust with investor, and what strategy did you use to continue attracting and retain investor in your real estate venture?
For us, when we first started, we didn't have investors or partners. Jaime and I really did utilize our own money, right, to build the experience ourselves. And we were passive investors when we started the syndication model and we learned about that. We honestly started as a passive investor first to understand the model and to make sure that it was actually legit and it worked, right? And
Mhm.
so we were passive investors in 8 different projects before we ever became a general partner ourselves. And we had already built the relationship with the general partners who we were passive investors with, built a friendship as we were learning the model and everything, and became kind of like learned right alongside them. And they took us under their wing. And then so at the time that we were general partners, we had already engaged with potential investors who were interested in investing something similar to us. And the easiest are peers who are also busy professionals and doctors just like us, who also want to grow their money, who have capital just sitting in there, but maybe not want to have all their money exposed to the stock market, that maybe they want to put some of that in something like this that's tangible. And that's how we kind of started, was to do that and building in our immediate circles of friends and family and peers. And then from there, as we were going and speaking more to different organizations and different groups, then that grew our, investor database. But for us, it's such a boutique operation. Most of our projects are, 506B. They're more just private relationship. We have to know you type of thing instead of just blasting it out there. And so building those core one-on-one relationships took a lot of time and, building of trust before we could have investors that were repeat investors and that referred people, right? So by no means was it easy or fast. We knew that this was a long-term investment and also a long-term plan. And so every single project, if we bring an investor in, we're heavily invested our own money into the deal too, right?
Right.
So our investors knew that, hey, we have a lot of skin in the game alongside them too, right?
Yeah. So that's the best way to approach in any partnership venture. You have to establish that trust with the investor. You have skin in the game, and ask something of value to it, so they can see you're not just raising capital to leverage them, but you actually invest alongside of them. That I think that trust is very very good to establish.
Right. Yeah. And that's important because even our partnerships, we take the time to get to know those partnerships and, through times, whether it's good times and then especially through bad times, how do the teams come together collectively to come up with resolutions and problem solving, and that everyone is putting in the effort and work to save the deal and make sure that the best investors' money is our priority, right? And that's very important in these large scale projects.
That can you share a story behind your first significant real estate deal and what you learned from that experience?
My very first deal that I tried to do on my own, this is a $4 million deal, 56 units, C-class apartment project in Pasadena, Texas. Um, I went after that deal um, right before COVID,
Wow.
and I won the deal. And then during that time, interest rates were going very all over the place. It was very volatile during that time.
Hmm.
Did my due diligence. I've already put out the money. I had one potential partner that was more experienced, right? I leveraged his expertise of having more space and to get on the loan and things like that, and to go out and do the due diligence with me and things of that nature. But I did all the heavy lifting. I put in the front money for the earnest money. I hired and put out the money, all the upfront costs for lending, for syndication attorneys. I mean, I put all of that out first. Well, when COVID happened and everything was so volatile, I didn't feel comfortable enough to raise capital from investors with the market with so much unknown. And
Right.
so we decided to pull out of the deal and take a loss for it, right? And after that, when things settled, the broker came back to us and asked if, they didn't sell it, asked if we would consider getting back on the deal. But that was a really hard deal for us because it was, even though it was a $4 million deal, which at that time was a significant amount because that was going to be our first GP deal that we actually led. But one of my mentors, I went to a mastermind and he reviewed all the numbers and he reviewed everything. And he said, Hua, you need to run. And I was, no, I can't. You don't understand. I've spent 9 months on this deal. This was pre-COVID. I got back on the deal. I already lost money the first time. They're letting me get back on it. I put additional earnest money for round 2. If I walk right now, I lose money again second time.
Yeah.
You don't understand. I put all the money. No other partners are putting front money. I'm the one who put the money in, right? And this
Right.
is my first GP deal. But I was so focused on trying to get to 0 to 1
Mm.
P that I didn't stick to my initial criteria of what I really wanted. It wasn't in an area that I really wanted. It wasn't the size that I really wanted to make property management manageable. And so I learned a lot of things, but I took his advice and he goes, Hua, I want you to listen to me. If you take this deal, it's going to be more of a headache for you than what your time and the value of time and money and what you're going to commit to this deal. I'm telling you, there are better opportunities for you. And so he goes, if you don't call the broker, I'm going to call the broker. He's with Madeira. He has, I don't know, 14,000 units, right?
Mhm.
I know all the brokers in Houston and Dallas. Like, I personally know him. If he sells you this deal, I'm going to call him up and he's on fire. And I felt so bad because here I have to go back to the broker to tell him I'm out for the second time. And what is that going to do with my reputation in the syndication and multifamily community, right? And then
Right.
it's money again, right? But I went ahead and did that. But you know why I share that story? Because I couldn't sleep for probably a month after that.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was so defeated. And I was like, I think I made a mistake investing all my time and money in doing real estate investing and trying to be a GP and all of this. But you know how there's a saying, there's a book, 3 feet from gold. If I had given up right there, which I really honestly, Sonny will tell you, Jaime will tell you, I cried and I almost gave up. But I stuck with it. And 2 months after that deal went south and I didn't go through with the deal, I had another opportunity that opened, which was a B class, great asset, 243 units, great partners. But I shared that challenge with them, and that was the opportunity for me to partner with them. And I was already passive investors with them, and I
Mhm.
had 3 other deals with them. And so the first GP deal wound up being a home run, right?
Love it.
Fixed debt, great location, much better asset, great partners. And so everything fell in line. And it was just a matter of sometimes things happen for a reason. And I'm a big believer of that, right?
They do. I mean, from that experience, you learn not to deviate from your buy box, right? And find exactly what's easy for you. And you buy something in Class C, depending on the area wise, can be unmanageable.
Correct.
So so how do you decide which market to invest in, and what the key factor you consider when underwriting deals now, from what you know before and what you know currently?
Yeah, our buy box, we typically like at least 125 units and larger. But for markets for us, we're heavy in Houston and DFW. But even within Houston and DFW, the immediate submarkets are super important, as far as the demographic. We really don't like high crime areas,
Right.
so having a low crime and then better school district, right? Having a good school district there. Obviously, we want higher than average or median household incomes. And so we tend to do more A and B because of the better demographic that we're able to get. And they can afford more. The business plan, usually the 5-year business plan, and it's more realistic and attainable.
Mm-hmm.
The diversification of the employment sector, super, super important too, right? It cannot be too heavily based on one or two big employers within that apartment community, because if something happens with that employment sector, that can be a big impact, right? And so those are the big ones, and even visibility and like the management team on site. If it's previous third-party management and there's opportunity for us to really improve the, the management, that's a big value component that can really turn a property around, right? I only do partnerships that have local boots on the ground, right? Especially if I'm buying where I'm not physically local boots on the ground. I leverage someone who is stronger and better in asset management that can overlook the property management company and be hands-on operators, getting out to the property. For sure, the weekly calls on the phone, but also the physical visits on the property on site.
Right.
So that's super important. Whoever we partner with, that's one of the things that we like to work with. If we're not physically there, when we visit, we are secondary. Like if we go to Houston, we'll go by and stop by the property, but we want a lead asset manager who is local boots on the ground, who's visiting the properties.
I think it's always good to have a good team members that actually have boots on the ground, make sure the property taken care of. It give you a peace of mind, give your investor peace of mind. This is a great strategy. Um, I noticed you do coach people on multifamily, and just a coaching standpoint, what advice would you give someone looking to start investing in multifamily in real estate, and how can they find you, Dr. Juan?
There's a lot of different advice that I give depending on which area you want to get into with multifamily, whether it's multifamily as a limited partner, whether you're wanting to become a general partner. I see a lot of people jump in a little bit too prematurely
Mhm.
and raising capital and not quite understanding the underwriting, the assumptions, the pro forma, and the risks that's involved, right? Because there are a lot of risks involved, also the good and the bad, right? And so when I coach individuals, I really take the time to customize it depending on, where they are in their journey. Because one advice for someone who's more sophisticated and ready and has capital may be very different than someone who's brand spanking new, who doesn't have any type of real estate background, right? And has maybe the time, but maybe not the capital. And so they're the strategy of how to pivot and their skill sets and what they're currently doing as far as their lane of expertise. Some people are really good with financials and underwriting models and numbers. Some people are really great with people and networking and have the social and marketing skills, but maybe don't have the data, and they're not as data driven and not as financially savvy. And so trying to understand what each person's strength is, what area of the business they would like to do, right? Whether they want to focus their energy on capital raising and networking and broker relations, or do they want to do the other areas, right? And so it's not a cookie cutter approach. And a coaching program where if you don't understand the numbers, like even if you're not the one underwriting, I think you still have to understand projections. You still have to understand what's conservative and what's aggressive, right? And so that's part of when I coach people, that's the deep conversations we have. And then I model and structure the coaching accordingly to what their plan is and what path they want to take. right?
Mm.
But I have two different websites. One is more my real estate investing, which is blacksteel number 23.com. But my coaching side is be the one, like be the, and then ONE, be the one, and then the number
Right.
23.com. And I coach people on the multifamily, and I also coach people on speaking, because the speaking one to many has been a big platform that I've been able to utilize to help grow our businesses too. But more so than grow our businesses, I didn't realize that. I mean, I had such a fear of public speaking. I've
Mm.
always been so shy, very quiet and introverted. But what I learned is I've been able to integrate my passion to do philanthropy work. And through my platform of speaking, I've been able to marry both, business and philanthropy together.
I really admire what you do, over what you've been through. Even if you shy, but you come out of your comfort zone and yet to push yourself. That is a little bit different from the Asian community, and you break that barrier. Can you go a little bit in depth? How did you overcome that mindset that you have?
Yeah, I started doing a lot of self-development work in conjunction with when I started doing my real estate investing journey, because there's so much involved with mindset. There's a lot of fear. Fear and doubt holds a lot of us back. And, when I started doing a lot of listening to Les Brown and Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar, and like I started getting really heavily immersed into that world to open up my mind and heart. And even though I knew that networking was never my thing, I was very uncomfortable. Speaking was never my thing. But my daughter has always been kind of that, she's been my biggest teacher, because, we call her Ninja. Her nickname is Ninja. She has this very fearless attitude. And she's just, do it, mom, just do it. Like, if you believe it, you can achieve it. Just do it, right?
Yeah.
And, when she has that mentality, and here I am, I was like, my little girl has this attitude. And she's really been the one that's really helped me kind of keep pushing out of my comfort zone. And, I've been blessed with good mentors. I've seeked different mentors that have believed in me. And Jaime, we've been together for 19 years. He's my biggest cheerleader, works behind the scenes. You always see me in the face of things on stages and out there. But behind the scenes, my biggest supporter and the one doing a lot of the work is Jaime, and AKA my lover, right?
Right.
To have a partner, I mean, he's the best partner, my business partner, my life partner. But to have someone who believes in you when
Mm.
times are tough, when I didn't have the strength to believe in myself that I was good enough, or how would someone like me, go out there and do something like this, right? But it's in your head. It's all in our mind, the belief of what is possible. And once that starts to expand, and that's the beauty of why I go to different masterminds and retreats and meet different circle of people, because it widens my eye of, wow, I was living in this little bubble where at first I thought it was just me and my little family. If I could just support and take care of my little family and live comfortably. I started off with time and financial freedom. And when I realized, man, that alone, I wanted to do so much more. And
Mhm.
that was what really kept me excited and alive. That's what kept pushing. Like it's kanai, they say constant and never ending improvement. And I believe in that, right? Always. I never feel like I've made it. I'm happy where I'm at. I know that it's enough, but it's always another level. I think each and every single one of us have another level of it in us, right? To be
Yeah.
able to grow, because growth is what keeps us excited and alive and passionate, right? So, I mean, it is a big part of it is mindset, but it's not like a attend one a thing. It's not like hire a mentor. It's not a one thing. The end of the day, you have to put in the daily work, right? You have to subconsciously feed your mind. I do a lot of meditation. I do breath work. I listen to different, TEDx talks. I listen to all the time, every single day, whether I'm driving or whether I'm just sitting in the morning. I listen to it and let it sink in. because there is no program, there's no magic pill, there's no magic retreat that is like, okay, I got it and I'm a changed person. No, you have to maintain it consistently.
You do, and for you at coming out and share your struggle and how you overcome and talk about your mindset is it very refreshing, because not a lot of people coming out and willing to share those kind of stuff, Dr. Ha. And to share is to grow, right? So
Absolutely.
on this note, I I want to find out and just correct me. Does your business in optometrist affect how you invest in real estate at all?
You know, we've been really blessed with our practices and our businesses that we have systems and people. You know, I think the two big things is teams and systems, right? And we have a very loyal patient base. And so our business, fortunately, through up times, through down times, through whatever, with COVID, with whatever's happening in the market, we've been in, you know, even though we've been doctors for 18 years, our two eye care practices are going on 13 years, right?
Right,
So our businesses steadily increase. The revenue that we keep from our business, because cash flow is the oxygen to any business, right? And
hmm,
so we always make sure that that cash flow that's reserved for our optometry practices, that will not get touched,
right,
right? So the cash flow and the business and what's needed is always separated from our business and what we do in our real estate. Right. So you cannot, even though if we have extra money, that's revenue that's coming in from our optometry practices that we have extra that we can now invest into our real estate ventures, then great. But we're not going to take money that's the bloodline of our optometry practices and risk that and bring it into another side. And so I think financials and separation has to be very distinct, right? Because you cannot commingle a lot of these things and it'll put you in a very financially dangerous place.
of course you want to separate the two totally. So I I see your point on this, because you want to separate the two business together, and it's a blind line, a bloodline of your cash flow. um I have a few more questions,
Oh,
and
please ask away.
well, looking ahead, okay, what are your personal development goals, and how you plan to achieve them?
You know, I have you know, the dream of wanting to do more speaking internationally, right? And the type of speaking that I really desire and aspire to do more of is really more inspirational speaking, right? Kind
Right.
of like I claim, because Les Brown has been one of my big, you know, people I listen to. I always say I want to be that Asian Les Brown.
I love Les Brown. He's great.
I said I want to be that Asian Les Brown to go out there and speak.
Yeah.
And I want to funnel the speaking, anything that I get from my speaking career. I would like to funnel that into philanthropy, right? We
Oh,
do a lot of trips that we travel to do different causes, right? And I said, if we can grow that and be able to also do retreat centers. I did a retreat in Colombia. I've done multiple different types of retreats, but retreats are something that almost feels more like, instead of just a transformation, it's really an awakening. And I witness in so many people who go through these different type of retreats. And
mhm.
I want to be a part of those type of world and retreat. And we own land in Belize that's beachfront that I haven't developed out yet. You know, so ideally in the future, we do want to develop that. That's something we don't have investors, we don't have partners. That's Jaime's and I retirement plan down the line. But I'd like to have, you know, multiple retreat centers around the world and collaborate with the retreat people who that's their lane of expertise and be able to help other individuals from all walks of life, right? To
Right.
get and build on the self-development and help on their inner child healing and a lot of how they can maximize their where they are to the next level and go deeper within. And so we don't just go on autopilot. That's the type of work I'm very passionate about. And, a lot of people I've met through the real estate circles, are doing, part of this too now. It's been great because you get to meet different people, connect and make that introduction, and then make it a collaborative effort. So, that's part of my personal development long-term goal as I'm doing that now. And that also helps improve myself as I'm also helping others along the way.
I love that when you mentioned about healing your inner child. Not all people are willing to um, look deeper and try to make peace with it, or figure out who they are and how to heal their inner soul peace. And for you to actually bring it out to existence and try to help people with it and make peace with it is really rare in our Vietnamese community. Not a lot we talk about us, Dr. Han, and I appreciate you doing it.
No, I appreciate that too. Because for the longest time, I mean, growing up, I've always suppressed my emotions, right? And a lot of our Vietnamese upbringing, you just tough it up. You move forward, you tough it up, um, and we learn to suppress emotions, and we don't show affection. Growing up, my family was not very affectionate. Like we don't hug and kiss, and like we didn't do that. And when I'm in Jaime's family, everyone's like hugging and kissing, and it's a very different dynamic, right? But
Right.
I've learned that a lot of the things I do out of habit as an adult stem from my childhood, right? And I didn't even realize a lot of the things that I thought were healed that were never really healed. And so I think it's so important that's a conversation to be had. I talk when I speak about vulnerable subjects that people kind of throw people off guard because they're like, well, most people don't talk about mental health. Most people don't talk about inner childhood trauma, and those are all things that are important because it makes us who we are now. But beyond just that, it's not that's your past. And once you re-identify who you are and you focus more on the present and the possibility of the future and not be a slave or to your past and just think that that's who you are. And, I learned that a lot. I'm like, oh my God, I just always labeled myself a certain way, thinking that's just who I am. And that could be further from the truth.
It is. It is. Yeah, just the way you sharing your story make me already think like how we heal our inner peace, right? It doesn't matter what background you are. It just happened with Vietnamese that we suppress our feeling, and our culture totally different.
Mhm.
And now a lot of us try to speak up and speak out and about mental health is very important because most of the Asian they're very prideful,
Right.
right? So if we can actually share and be transparent and open about it and speak our vulnerability, it's help us grow and define as a human being.
Absolutely. And it allows it helps somebody else who are like, man, that person, they can relate. Then you have
Mhm.
to come forward. I've had so many people come forward with me sharing my own vulnerabilities. I've had so many people step forward and be able to take the next step and heal and move forward because they're like, no one talks about this stuff. Why don't more people talk about this stuff? Right. Yeah, and I think it's just
Mhm.
helpful to, all good and bad, right? But the beauty of it is there are resources and there are methods and strategies to be able to move forward, right? And sometimes we don't want, everybody wants to have the facade of being successful or being happy all the time or being what X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, no, we're human, right?
It's it just removed those though. This when I talk, just remind me of a story when I talk to a friend of mine. What if we like vulnerable, just remove all the masks and be true to ourselves? How is that gonna make you feel? What can we feel like? So to heal internally, we have to be authentic, true to ourselves.
Right.
On your process to healing your journey, what's the process or what kind of system that you use that you can share to help other people how to heal their inner child piece?
I've done a lot of different ones. I think the most effective ones are ones that I was surrounded with people who were experts in their lane doing this type of healing.
Mhm.
And it usually involves 3 or 4 days being in nature, away from your everyday activity, unplugging from your normal day to day social media, your emails, your work, surrounding people that you normally are around, and just be solo and do it for you, not for anybody else, but for you. And when you separate, and even if it's 4 days, it's intense. And all you do is you're focusing. And I've done NLP, I've done timeline therapy, I've done plant. The most recent one was my first time with plant medicine, meditation, sound baths. I mean, it's a different Reiki energy. So there's a lot of different healing modalities that is tied together. But breath work and meditation is something that you continue on your own. And you don't have to do plant medicine or anything like that. I think I got a lot of healing and treatments with just going into, there was a place in Sedona called Mago Retreat, Finding Your True Self.
Mhm.
And it's two, one is a Japanese from Japan, one is from Korea. And it was a really meaningful and intense in a beautiful area of high vortex energy. And again, it was meditation, working out, breath work, and then just them guiding you and figuring out the different layers. And then from there, I continue on my own and do meditation and breath work and journaling. But the biggest one in Colombia that I did was a 4-day retreat. And the plant medicine, which was something that Jaime was really against, and I was really against, to be honest.
Mhm.
And I was like, I am never going to do anything like that. And I was very judgmental about it at first. And as I did more research and as I talked to more people, and especially someone I trusted, and he talked about it more and the positive experience. And I kept talking to more and more people who had positive experiences with it. That's where I said, okay, I need to have an open mind and open heart. And I said, I'm going to sleep on it and I'm going to see what comes. And I slept on it and I had a very vivid dream that I was already there at the retreat center. And I woke Jaime up and I said, I'm going to the retreat. I know you don't want me to go. I know you have doubt and I fear, and I do too. But after this vivid dream, I really believe it's a calling and I no longer am fearful and I'm going. And he's very supportive and he knew I had already made up my mind. And he says, you go ahead and go. I'll be there to support you. I'll go to Colombia with Athena. We're just going to go sightseeing. But I'll be there. Anything you need, I'll be right there with you. And I went. And I will tell you, those 4 days was a really, really, I would say, a true awakening of what the vision and what I heard and what I saw and what I felt, of really digging even deeper of the innerhood child, which I already said, I'm all healed. Like, I've done a lot of retreats. I'm all healed. I'm good to go. I'm living life.
Right.
You know, and I didn't even realize that there was deeper, more uh, within that. But for people who don't want to go to something like that, I mean, there's definitely other ways. You can go on, even on YouTube. If you
Mhm.
look up Tony Robbins priming video. That takes 12 minutes of your morning routine. That's a really great exercise to do breathing and kind of have intentions of the day. Breath work is super, super important. If you can incorporate, that's the number one way to really help with any stress and anxiety. Like if you have something really stressful and you're anxious, I utilize the technique before I go on stage. But box breathing, 4-second box breathing is super, super easy, super, super effective. I use it throughout my day. If something triggers me or I want to get upset or I feel like I'm starting to get a little anxious, I will do my 4-second box breathing. And after a few rounds of those, my nervous system will slow down, right? Um, but those are, those are things, but the inner child healing, most of it won't come out if you're just on your conscious level. And if you're just like talk, it's not gonna naturally just gonna come out, right? And I think you need to separate your conscious and your subconscious completely to get into the deeper place. It's suppressed for a reason. Our bodies are there to protect ourselves. We don't want to relive the pain in those memories. And so we bury them. But a lot of our relationships and things that we do as an adult, our behaviors, our habits, our emotions truly don't change unless we truly heal that inner child.
I love you sharing information. I take a couple note here about the breathing, the breath work. It does help. We all need that. It's say that you don't, but you do. Because we go to the journey of life, we want to be the best version of ourselves, no matter what, right? And if we can heal our inner child or acknowledge it and slowly work towards it, then you will be healed. It's not be today, not be tomorrow. It's the process, and you take initiative to do that. It's amazing because not a lot of people willing to face it because they scared. And for you to come out and say, "Hey, we all can do this together, and we all can grow together on this," and to share as an Asian American female in this new world, we need a voice someone like you to actually, you don't have to suppress this idea of being a female in a Vietnamese society. You can actually grow to be the person who you want to be.
Absolutely.
I,
Absolutely. Perfectly said, Sonny.
I love, you know, I don't want to take too much of your time. I really appreciate what you do and what you represent, Dr. Juan, and I love what you're doing right now. Keep doing what you do. I have one last question. It's my closing question for any guest I have on it. Let's say if you were achieve all your goals today and what you want you design to do, and today is your last day on this planet, okay? What are the three most important lessons you want to share with people and how you would like to remember by?
You know, the top three lessons, obviously there's so many different lessons. I always talk about love and kindness, in a world where you can be anything, you hear the saying, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. I want to be remembered for being genuine and caring, right? To love and be connected is something that we maybe speak very superficially about.
Yep.
I say, if you can genuinely each night, whether this is my last day, and I always, when I speak, I say, I live like it is going to be my last day, right?
Yeah.
But don't take that for granted. The people that are surrounding you, don't take them for granted, right? Whether it's a loved one, a friend, your children, your parents, your partners, people that really matter in your life, spend quality time with those people, right? Know that, let them know that you love them and you care for them. And don't wait until you're about to die or you don't have the opportunity to tell them, right? One of the biggest things, if I had to say, number three is like, don't live with any regrets, right? If you want to do it, Dr. Wayne Dyer has a saying, don't die with your music still in you, right?
Wow.
So it's something I always think about, right? What is it that I really want out of my life that I want people to remember? And not just what people remember, that when I leave, that I know that I've done my part. And if someone is reading my eulogy, that I'd be proud. And I have written my eulogy 3 years ago. Jaime and I wrote our eulogy out, and I encourage People, if you have not written your own eulogy of what it looks like and sounds like and feels like to you, and rewrite it, but write your eulogy, right? But love and kindness, really spend quality time with the people that really matter, right? And that love equation, remember yourself in the process. You cannot pour into others when you're half empty. And so it's not selfish to make sure that you are fully loved in yourself. And then you can pour and spread that love and kindness to others. But start there. But those are kind of my top lessons, I would say, but no, when people are always like, well, what do you want to achieve financially? Or what do I don't even, my mind doesn't even think in that capacity. I don't even think in numbers. People, it's kind of funny because people introduce me with numbers, right? Because that's what catches. I was like, I do not want to be remembered for how many units. I do not want to remember how many billions or assets under management. That's not remotely what I want to be remembered for, right? I really want to remember that I had the courage to go out there and just love and be kind, that I was genuine, right? That's at the core, that I just loved deeply and that I cared. At the end of the day, that's all that really matters to me, right?
Love it. I think that's the best way to remember is to share the knowledge beyond your accomplishment. It's how to grow as a person.
Absolutely.
But I enjoy this. And how would people get a hold of you, Dr. Like, can you share if they want your coaching and they want to learn more about you? Can you tell me how they can find you online?
Yeah. I'm on social media. I mean, my website I mentioned earlier, blacksteel23.com, or be the one number 23.com. I'm on Facebook under Hoa, Hoa Nguyen, Nguyen. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. But honestly, the best platform is going to be Facebook or LinkedIn. And then you can direct message me if you want to have direct access. I do personally check those.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an honor, truly refreshing to talk to you. Besides real estate, it's more about personal development. That's what my my vision for this show is, just beyond the real estate, beyond what your accomplishment is about personal development. So I'm glad to have you as a guest, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Sonny, for having me on. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.